This week's episode, we speak to Autumn Liggett, who is a talented young entrepreneur in the photography space. She took the leap of changing from her traditional college degree into something that she is so passionate about, photography. So whether you're into photography or just looking for a career change or really wanting some type of inspiration, this young entrepreneur has literally jumped in with 2 feet doing a cannonball into this new industry, and she's taken off like crazy. So let's jump into this podcast and stay tuned because this is going to be a good one. Well, thanks for jumping on so last minute. I was going through my Instagram. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to her. So why don't you start with introducing yourself and kind of what you do in the sense of yourself as a business owner as well as a photographer and how you kind of got into that world of photography.
Yeah, okay. So my name's Autumn Liggett from Autumn Liggett Photo. I kind of got started into photography, I took photography course with the program in high school, and my teacher told me I sucked and told me I should just not pursue it. And so I was like, well, okay, fine. But I still kind of had that passion for it. And when I graduated high school, my parents got me a very basic DSLR camera. And so I played around with that for a while. And then I was able to borrow a very high-end Nikon camera. And so I got to borrow that for a couple years anyways. And I would photograph all my camp trips and my road trip out west and just, odd little things here and there. And I started to get noticed on my Instagram, by Mac and other little brand companies that would offer me free products to shoot for them. So I was doing a lot of brand work for outdoor companies. And then someone just kind of randomly approached me way after college, asking if I would photograph their maternity photos. I was like, no, I don't photograph people. And, they were like, well, we'll pay you. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I could try. And so I did, and it kind of just stuck, and I liked how the experience was. And so when I moved to Muskoka the following summer, I guess, it's kind of pricey to live in Muskoka. And the job I had was just a kind of a half day shift in a school. And so I needed some money. And so I started to really push myself to start this photography business up. And it kind of just snowballed to where I am now, living in the Ottawa Valley. And yeah, this past September, I just totally took a leap of faith and went full time and quit my job that I went to school for. And here we are.
That's awesome. And you're I love too how young you are and how you jumped out of that norm routine of what you expect, right? And jumping in, even if your teacher said you weren't gonna pursue or
I know.
you should just quit kind of thing, and you
I feel that's at least one teacher, right? I mean, all my math teachers told me I was terrible. That's true. I believed them. I wasn't gonna push that, but I also like to challenge people a little bit. So, and she kind of always just rubbed me the wrong way. You have those teachers that just kind of rub you the wrong way. And I don't know. I think it was a little bit of a motivation to be like, well, you know what? Let's see if I can actually do this or not. So if only I could see her now.
Well, and I love proving people wrong. I think that's something I'm
Yes,
kind of
right?
posting under the radar, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Yep.
okay, I did this, right?
I know. I'm a little stubborn in that way. I want to try it myself first. And I know it drives my boyfriend nuts sometimes because he'll be like, don't do this right now. Just wait it out. And I'm like, I can do it. He'll fill the bread up and I want water now. And he's like, just wait till it's filtered through Autumn and then put it in a cup. Stubborn means oh, I've got this. And then there's literally water all over the floor.
Oh gosh, you sound literally we're the same person.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I gotta test the waters first.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and I think too, when it comes to traditional education, when it comes into photography, personally, I bought my first legit camera other than an underwater camera on vacation. But I bought my first Canon camera, not expecting anything out of it. And just shooting and having fun. That was my outlet for quarantine.
Yeah.
Because it was
definitely
work related, taking content photos and doing our online store. I didn't have a camera to I have an iPhone 7. I think I need to upgrade.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, I can't use my phone to take photos because it's like the worst
No,
quality. So I bought a camera. It was on sale, and now it's become like a little hobby of mine, and I'm like obsessed with it. So
I
it's
know.
it's
And
fun.
once you like figure out like the nooks and crannies of how to run a camera and like how much you can like manipulate a photo even after you take it, like in post production, it's wild. Like you could spend hours in Photoshop and Lightroom just like tampering and playing around. And once you get in the groove of it, it is very addicting. It's
Well,
fun.
I think too, like I downloaded Lightroom just because I ordered some
Yeah.
presets. I had bought some and had no idea. And then now I'm looking at the presets and I'm like, I can bring this much better. I haven't touched
Yes.
Photoshop yet, but even with
Yeah.
Lightroom, I'm like mind blown with even what Lightroom offers for photo quality.
Oh yeah, I know. I very, very rarely ever step foot into Photoshop unless I'm really needing to like get into some kind of detail or like really fix up a photo, or do like a double exposure. Like if I'm just tampering or playing, but like for like 80 to 90% of my edits, it's all just in Lightroom. But
That's
there's so much you can do. It's magic.
It's magic. Well, and your photos, like I feel like they're so relatable to so many different people because you do have that.
Thank you.
Even though I'm in Muskoka and you're in the Ottawa Valley, and even when you were talking about some of
Yeah.
your trips and stuff, it's so amazing on the brand behind. Like I know you've worked with Made for the Lake too, like some of the branding behind the scenes there, and like you get the whole
Yeah.
vibe from it.
Yeah, thank you. And I always try to strive for that. I think a lot of photographers, when they start, they kind of get lost in like this notion that they have to kind of lose sight of who they are to offer things for clients. But like in reality, it's you as a person. And I've learned that a lot, especially this year, just being open and being truthful as to who you are. And it's amazing how many people will relate to you, and they'll reach out and say, like I get a lot more recently too, like we booked you because we loved like watching you on your Instagram stories. You're just like so real, and like you're just very open and yourself, and we really wanted someone that was kind of vibing with the same way we are, and so that's why we reached out to you. And that makes me feel so good because at one point, I thought I had to show my face with a full face of makeup all the time, or like I only could post like certain photos because that's the way it was, and I couldn't add captions that were like relating to myself. It had to be just basically what that photo was. And I don't know. It felt wrong when I was posting it. So once I kind of just started realizing how much more important it was to just shoot what I wanted to shoot, um, add the captions I wanted to, even if it's just like, gosh, I hope it snows today, people relate to that and they're like, yeah, okay, that's something we want to follow. So I've pushed really hard for that in the last year for sure.
And you can see it like personally, like I feel like I was like, have we gone to school together? Like I was like before this call, I'm like, I feel
Yeah.
like I know you, but I think it's because of your social media and how
Yeah.
you've made the real authentic you come through. And like even for me, like usually I'm really good about knowing if I've met someone, but like I was like, did we go to high school together? How do we know each other? But it was like a connection through a connection. But like that's
Yeah.
amazing that you've stepped out of your comfort zone. And when I'm booking photographers for work related or content,
Yeah.
also I work in the wedding industry a lot doing makeup and stuff. And that is my number
Yeah.
one thing that I say to people is hire the photographer from the personality too, because
Yeah,
they can take
definitely.
beautiful photos, but if you're standing there like a stiff board and no one's telling you how to move or you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, and that happens a lot. It happens a lot. But
and
it's true. It's definitely true.
and I know for men, like when we're doing like weddings, like when we're behind the scenes doing touch-ups and stuff, if guys do not feel comfortable with the photographer for weddings, you can see that from a mile away.
Oh, 100%. And like, especially when I'm doing like a couple session or engagement session, I tend to try and talk to the male more. And I mean, I hope I'm never coming off like flirtatious or, like coming the wrong way. But it's because the men are typically super, like they hold in all their emotions. They don't want to be there.
Mm.
Let's be real. Like 80% of the couple sessions I shoot, the men never want to be there. So I'm trying to like get them out of their shell because normally, 9 times out of 10, the woman or, the female or whoever is already like, let's do this. Like they're kind of ready to rock, where it's the man that's just kind of like, I don't want to be here. So I definitely try to like kind of get conversations out of them more. Like, even if it's like, oh, what's your favorite craft beer? Or like, oh, did you watch the hockey game? I don't watch hockey. Like, it was on last night and I hid in my basement while my boyfriend watched it. I don't like watching hockey. But if it's like something they're interested in, I'm gonna force myself into that conversation just so I can pull out their real personality and make them
Yeah.
feel comfortable. I think that's like such an important thing for a photographer, is making sure everyone feels comfortable, because you're right, you can see it in the face all the time. If you're taking photos and they're not comfortable, you can just see it in their eyes, the way their mouth sits. It's very readable.
Well, and I think having like the proper kind of like what you're saying about Zoom calls and like kind of meeting people
Yes.
before, because to be honest, which you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, it's the women booking the photographers. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
the men have no idea of like what's
No.
going on. They're just kind of there. Just tell them the time and the date and they'll be
Yeah.
there sort of
Literally, I'll show up with the ring.
thing. Now,
It's true.
do you find you do what is like your favorite kind of thing to shoot now that you're not just doing like product shoots, you're doing people and like portraits as
Yeah.
well? What's like your favorite
Um,
thing?
I think I love shooting weddings, but I think I love the calmness of like an engagement session, because there's not really like a set time. You know, I always say there's like a minimum of 1 hour, but like it's kind of just like how that session will flow. I just love having a one-on-one experience with a couple and kind of seeing like how, you know, the time kind of evolves into their emotions. You know, the first like 20 to 30 minutes of the session, it's still kind of awkward because they're still trying to figure out what I'm doing and they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. But once you hit that 1 hour mark, I find like the magic really starts to happen. It's fun. I just like being able to photograph like the genuine smiles and the emotions that are like being captured between, you know, the couple themselves. But I also love shooting my canine sessions. I just started kind of like branched off for the Loyal Wolf Collective. That's still under my name, but I want to really dig deep more into like photographing that relationship between an owner and a dog this year, because I don't think people really realize how important that is. You know, our dogs are with us for such a short amount of time. And I know so many people I've talked to, they were like, oh, I wish I would have photographed our dog way more before they passed away. Or when they were a puppy, like I wish we would have like taken the time and like taken a photo every day for that first year just to like hold on to those memories. And so I really just like, I'm trying to push for people to understand that, you know, that part of your life with your dog is so important. Anytime I'm with Luna on a hike, I'm like, Alex, 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 take a photo of us. Just take a photo. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because like, you know, she's gonna be with us for maybe another 7 years, maybe. And I wanna capture that and, you know, have those moments of we went for a hike that day. So I'm pushing for that too, but it's definitely between either the canine sessions or an engagement session that I just absolutely love.
I like got goosebumps when you're talking about like the canine, because like we don't have a dog, but I'm like so jealous of everyone during quarantine that is able to have that furry friend with them,
And
right? Just to have some.
honestly, lifesaver. Like we have a cat as well, and I mean, I've never really been a huge cat person, but I really wanted a second dog, and Alex was like, absolutely not. We're not doing the second dog. So we compromised on a cat. And she's a treat. She's so funny. We really lucked out with like having the funniest and like most laid back cat. But
Oh,
Luna has definitely been like a lifesaver. Just like, you know, she's helps encourage us to get outside a little bit more, you know, throw the frisbee for at least 15, 20 minutes with her, go take her for a hike. She's also that great like cuddle companion at night. And it's nice seeing that more people are like adopting dogs this year because they're home now and they know like they're probably going to be home for the foreseeable future, because a lot of businesses have realized we can do this from home. So it's nice seeing that more people are bringing in those dogs.
I was just speaking to someone else this morning about that, about how she's getting outside every single day and having that
Yeah,
companion has like her dog is going to go into withdrawals as soon as she goes back to work too. So it's like she's like, I
I
gotta
know.
take advantage of this time, right?
I know. And that's what I fear too. I mean, lucky enough now, I mean, I will still be home pretty much all day when life goes back to normal. I'm gone away in the evenings and weekends, but like right now, my boyfriend's home, right? Like he's been home all day as well. So she's been spoiled. Like when I went back to work in childcare, lockdown happened in March. I went back in July, and like I could just tell when I came home in the night, she was kind of just in like this mood with me of like, you left me all day. Like she had Alex, but it was different, and I'm home now, and even if we go to get groceries, there's like a little bit of like separation anxiety we can see in her. Like she's just a little on edge because she's like, "What the heck? You're
Yeah.
leaving me?" But I know I'm interested to know what it'll be like when Alex goes back to work and she doesn't have like her favorite person in the world home all day anymore. I
Oh,
think a lot of people are gonna miss that.
definitely. And I think too with having that furry friend with you, like even for people who don't have a significant other or someone they're living with, like I can't
Yes,
imagine being like that alone where you don't have an animal.
I
And
know.
even for
Yeah.
content, they always say you should have like a prop or something like that. And I just think like some of my favorite photos, and I think you just automatically have to like them and share them when there's an animal involved,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, definitely. Like anytime I show up to a session, they're like, "I hope it's okay we brought our dog." I'm like, "Oh, I hope it's okay." Like, "I'll go buy you a bottle of champagne. Thank you for bringing him."
Yeah.
I get so excited. Oh, I love when people bring their dogs because again, like they're part of your family, like especially an engaged couple or whatever, that's like that was a big step getting a pet together. So why not bring them? Like that's a huge part
Yeah.
of your life.
They're your baby.
I
That's how I feel,
exactly.
right? Yeah, it's
Oh,
a child.
definitely. Yeah. Cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. So what is something like for your education with photography, were you, like you said, you took it in high school, but did you take it as well, or is it just kind of go with the flow, taught
This
yourself?
was all pretty much self-taught. I mean, I learned the odd thing through like online workshops. There's a website called Creative Live that has a lot of like free and like fairly reasonable priced workshops that you can learn on there. YouTube workshops like Evelyn. I'm
Yes,
sure you know who Evelyn is.
I was just
Yeah.
texting her actually.
Oh, really? I know.
Yeah.
I've been talking to her in there just because like this whole couple of weeks has just been like on edge feeling. But I was supposed to go to one of her workshops next Saturday, and of course that's been now postponed till April, which is so crummy, but totally understandable. But so I did a workshop with her, gosh, I guess a couple years ago now, which was so fun. But things like that, just and it's kind of nice to like meet up with your community of fellow photographers and learn different things from each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of this was all self-taught. I mean, Alex, my boyfriend, is a little bit into photography too. So he does more wildlife and landscape. So there's the odd time he'll be like, you could do this on Lightroom. And I'm like, what? I don't know that. And so he's taught me a few things here and there as well. But for the most part, it's just been all self-taught. And it's pretty easy to teach yourself if you just honestly take the time with it, learn manual, how to shoot manual, editing. Like there's just so much free information. And there's nothing wrong with going to school for it and spending the money because I'm sure, there's things I still don't know that someone that went to college for photography knows. But I just chose to do the self-taught way, a lot cheaper. And I don't know, I feel like I learned a lot the way I did.
Well, and then it becomes more of a passion. I find sometimes when you've gone like
Yes.
feel when you've invested that much money or you're like forced into it and you have projects and
Yep.
things, it kind of becomes a forced thing. And when you
Yeah.
teach yourself, like
True.
even, I mean, I'm not a photographer, but I've been like taking some photos and stuff for other companies, like product photos that I've been ordering skincare stuff online. And I'm like, I just like the product. It's easy to take pictures of pretty things and get some
And
accessories.
they don't like judge you.
Yeah,
You can take a
exactly.
picture of like a bottle and they're not going to be like, I don't like that angle.
Yeah.
I like product photography and it's been a lifesaver during this time. Like I do product photography for a local coffee company, and that has been like the one thing that has kept me going, not being extremely bored every day, is like knowing I have a reason to still have to shoot each day. So if I have a coffee cup in the kitchen, I'm like, oh, the light looks really good right now. I'll take a picture and then they'll send it off to them because
Yeah.
I feel like it's worth my day, even if it's just that one shot. But that is, yeah, the branding photography, thank goodness we still have that right now because if we
Yeah,
couldn't even do that, I don't know what we would do.
I bought a used Canon camera, like just like a Rebel
Oh, good.
camera, but I also
Yep.
have my little like vlogging camera, but I think I have to get a new battery for the used one I got because it
Oh,
doesn't last long at all. That's what I was like, I gotta charge
no way.
everything. I was like, of course you can relate to that.
Oh, definitely. Like all my equipment's been used. I think the only new things I have are both my lenses, but both my bodies I've bought used. Bought one off a police officer, so I don't even know what that camera's probably seen in its lifetime, but I just, you know what, they work the same way. I you buy them used at Henry's. They're all refurbished. They're ready to rock. You're saving so much money. So I always just buy used.
And you're like recycling. Like I just look at how much like,
Yeah.
we're in such a disposable world, and I look at the cameras that I bought.
Yeah.
Like, the lenses can switch out. They're pretty much good for
Yep.
any lens type. And do you shoot
Oh,
with
yeah.
Canon or Nikon? What's your favorite?
Nikon.
Nikon, yeah.
Yeah, I've always just learned on Nikon. Like my dad shoots with a Canon T Rebel of whatever series it is. And anytime he gives it to me, he's like, "Do you know how to do this?" And I'm looking at it like it's a foreign object. Like they're so different, and it's kind of wild to think they are. But just like where the settings are and the buttons, I never know what I'm doing with it. You give me a Nikon, I'm like, "Oh, cool. Okay, let's get the show on the road."
Well,
Canon or Sony. Yeah.
Like how
Oh,
they
definitely. Yeah. Well, when I went out west in October with my girlfriend, she's just starting into photography and she shoots Sony. And Sony is like a mirrorless camera, right? So it's very light. There's not all that extra body to it. And every time she gave it to me, they're like, "Can you take a picture of me?" I almost like threw it over my shoulder because it's so light compared to my cameras. And again, I'm like looking at it, the buttons, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Can you set this up? Because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen so many, like, I love all your reels and all like the social media stuff you're doing. That I've been laughing at the one reel that's going right now. It's like, wow, your camera takes such nice photos. I
know, I love it.
Because even myself, I know I've said that to photographers
Oh,
before.
me too. Definitely. Yeah.
No, it's more than just the camera.
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing, when people are like, "I want to start taking better photos. What camera can I use?" And I'm like, well, really, any camera. You can invest in any kind of camera, but you have to know what you're doing in order to take the pictures, because it's not really the camera. I mean, the quality comes from the camera, but it's what you're shooting is what you have to know what you're doing. So if you don't, it doesn't matter. You could be using a tiny little point and shoot or the newest and greatest mirrorless camera on the market. You have to know what you're doing in order for those photos to be perfect. So yeah, I see those reels and I laugh because it's so relatable.
Oh,
Usually
yeah.
it's like the uncle at the wedding that says it, like, "Oh, you must take really good photos."
Well,
Nothing against like Uncle John, but
well, and the guy, it's always the guy that's standing in the wrong place in every photo.
Oh.
Would say something like that.
Oh yeah. Or like, you see the reels too where like someone dresses up as like the family member with their like little camera at the wedding and they're like eyeing up your camera.
Or
like,
the
"Oh, kind of
iPad.
brand-"
The iPad.
The dreaded iPad. Oh, don't get me started about the iPads. Bless families' hearts. I get it. They want to take the pictures of their loved ones on their wedding day. I totally get it. But like, hi, your niece and nephew-in-law just paid thousands of dollars for this all to come together. Let the photographer do it. I'll send you some good photos.
I can't get past iPad to take the photo.
Oh, yeah, I know, really, and I can't edit that out. Like if there's a giant square in like the corner of a ceremony, that square is staying. I can't edit that out unless I take their whole arms off, or doesn't look good.
Just a
So yeah. Just like take that whole person out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I find too with photography, like they're shooting a lot just with iPhones now. Like I look at some of the biggest influencers and that's all they're using.
Yeah.
They're not using.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I had just the iPhone 11. Like I have my like lifestyle account, and half those photos are taken with my phone, and just like I airdrop them and just edit them on my laptop because sometimes I don't like how light edits on my phone. But like I don't want to be carrying my camera around with me everywhere. I really don't. Like if we ever go on trips down south, I never take my camera with me just because it's another thing to worry about while I'm on a trip. It's heavy, so I'll take my phone. And yeah, like the newest iPhone 12 Plus or whatever, man, the photo quality of that is insane.
I just ordered one. So it's on its.
Oh, good. I was just like, get rid of that iPhone 7.
I know. I'm like, I think it's time. I've had this thing, like even the case I think I've had since day one. You can see like
it looks burnt.
I know. It's so bad. But I thought of that because I'm like, okay, right now I have downtime to like forward everything off from my old phone, get used to it. Like I still have the button on my phone. Like I don't even know how to navigate.
Oh my gosh, that's like so ancient. Oh my goodness.
Like my boyfriend has the 11 and he'll be like, "Can you like go to my calculator or whatever?" And I'm like, "I don't know how to do this." Like it's yeah.
I know once I took the button away, it was definitely like a hard thing to get used to. Like having to swipe up or like swipe down. I'm like, I don't, how do I get out of this app? But
Yeah.
you'll get onto it. Things change so drastically. It's hard.
Well, and I think too, people need to just stop like using their equipment as an excuse when it comes to getting things started. Like even I'm laughing at myself right now. Like I've literally got a camera sitting on the back of my chair. I've got one on a tripod with another chair and a ring light thing. But like even the photos I'm taking, like some of them when we were on our trips and stuff, some of the biggest commented, most reviewed photos I've taken
Yep.
are from my iPhone.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like if you saw my setup right now, my laptop is sitting on my Twilight Trilogy saga books in front of a window. That's my setup. And then I have like drinks, like I have a smoothie and a coffee all on the go right
There
now.
you go.
But yeah, like honestly, it doesn't take a lot. I think a lot of people think there's so much effort that has to go into something so simple, and it doesn't have to be that way. Once you get in like the idea of like where light should be bouncing off and how shadows work, it's pretty easy from there. It's just getting into that groove. But I know we all start there where we think we need all like the latest and greatest, and not necessarily.
No, just getting started and getting your feet on the ground. And like you were saying, like really figuring out like who you are behind the scenes. And like, how old were you when you technically started your business?
Um, Probably about 22, 23 when I officially kind of like launched Autumn Liggett Photo. It wasn't until this September that I went full time,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think it was the right time. I think I'm from the education field. I'm a registered ECE, and a lot has evolved since the pandemic. And I just kind of lost the passion because I'm not, I wasn't doing the things I was taught in college. I wasn't really loving the job anymore. And it was very stressful. And, you know, people handle things very poorly once the pandemic hit. I just know I've talked to a lot of people, whether, management or coworkers, like they're different. And so it makes things a little bit more tricky. And so I think with just like the stress of thinking, okay, if I go to work today and I get COVID, I have to potentially cancel my wedding that I'm supposed to shoot next weekend. All the sessions I have this week, is it really worth it? Like, this is clearly the passion I want to be following. Do I want something that I could probably avoid at this point ruin something and cost me thousands of dollars? Or do I just take the leap of faith? And so that's honestly what I did. And sometimes I'm like, yikes, was this like not the best time? Because here we are in another lockdown, not being able to work. Circumstances are rising in the next few months, who knows? So it's like, it's a little bit of both, but at the end of the day, I'm so thankful I can be at home and safe here in the middle of nowhere rather than going to work every day and just like having that on edge feeling of like, okay, today could be the day that I get COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot, but I think the timing and the age of when I just jumped into this is really good because I feel like by the time I'm ever ready for children will be like my early 30s. So I still have like 5 years to try and get my job and like this business more established and pinpoint exactly what I want to do and get out of it before starting a family. So
Oh,
yeah, I think it's a good time.
it's funny you brought that up because I was just messaging a girlfriend about that because she is like when I was younger and we would play like dress up or house or whatever, I always owned a
Yeah.
store. I was never the mom,
Yeah.
the baby,
No.
like doll thing. That just was not me. I always had a
Yeah.
store. I always had my little
No.
cash register, always wanting to
Yeah.
like be an entrepreneur from day one. And I found that
Yeah.
was something where I started my business when I was 20, but I also found like I never really thought of a timeline in the sense of having children or starting a family. But now
No.
I'm going to be 27 this year, which is like crazy to think of that. I'm like, okay,
I
I'm
know.
not
26.
yeah. Well, I'm 26 right now. Like, I'm like, okay.
Okay, I'm 25, but
Going
yeah.
into our next years. And I feel like 25 for me, to be honest, like, I remember I was going through a midlife crisis because I was like 25. I thought I'd have my, like, I might look like I have my shit together, but I was like, my personal life was in such shambles.
No.
Business was put
Yeah.
together. It was fine. But my personal life was
Yeah.
all over the place. But I want people to know too, like, whether you're in your early 20s, late 20s, 30, 40, starting a new business, there's all the different steps and lifestyle changes that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, definitely. Like I'm glad I don't have children right now because I don't think I would have pursued this business just because children are expensive. Having a family is really expensive. And taking this jump, especially during a pandemic. I have money coming in, but not what I would be if I was able to shoot every day. And those expenses come out, and I think my life would be extremely more stressful than it already is right now. There's just a lot of overwhelming things going on, and I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have kids. Like, props to anyone that has children right now, knowing what it's like working with kids every day, like homeschooling. No,
Oh,
nope. So I give a huge shout out to mostly probably moms that are dealing with this right now. But yeah, I just right now would not be the time to have kids for me, because I wouldn't have pursued my job. I probably would have stuck it out at the childcare center I was working at, because it was, a set income coming in every day. I know what would be coming in at the month. Right now, it's kind of cool. We got some bookings today. Yay!
well, and the freedom, like I think of like I have a lot of
Oh,
moms
definitely.
and new moms on social media because of the age I'm at too. And like I just
Yep.
I was having a pity party for myself when we moved into our new home in October, because my birthday was also like a couple weeks away. I had this whole thing in my head. I wanted to have like a housewarming
Yep.
birthday party. And
I know.
like I love celebrating milestones for people, even our
Me too.
business, like our 5th year anniversary, we couldn't do anything for our business. And I
No.
said to John, even like having like weddings, like I feel so bad for like for brides, like as a woman, I think
I know.
that's something you think about, right? How what your wedding
I
day will
know.
be like, and having to change everything. Now, how has
Yep.
that pivoted your business in the sense of photography for weddings?
A lot. I mean, so 2 years ago, I shot 15 weddings working a full-time job with children. And by the end of November, I was done. Like, I contemplated quitting photography because I was like, I cannot do this again. I was at my wit's end. I was so emotionally done. It was so bad. I lost the passion of photography completely. I was burnt out. So I knew, like, I had some weddings booked for 2021, but I didn't book a lot because I was like, okay, if I'm going to be working full time still, like, I can't do this to myself. So I didn't take on that much this past year for 2020, sorry. And I think I had only 7 weddings booked with a full time job. And I only ended up shooting 5 or 6 weddings, but half of them were not for my 2020 booked clients. They had most of them shuffled. It was kind of last minute. We wanted to elope. Can you photograph our elopement this weekend, kind of thing, which was perfect. And then I went full time. So my weddings for this year, thankfully, are starting to book up for 2021. There's still some like scramblers coming in, I think, that are like, okay, you know what? Let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just suck it up, do it how we want. But it was a lot of pivoting for my business this past year, because I was done the end of August and I was marketing the hell out of myself for the time that I was off from March to the end of August. Because as soon as we got the green light to shoot in June, I was like, let's get the ball rolling. Because that's when I started to really like think, okay, if I want to do this full time, I need to see how this summer is profitable wise. And I shot every single day up until October, like pretty much every day. There was maybe 1 or 2 days a month that I just finally had a day off to myself. And so by the end of August, I was so stoked to see like the numbers rolling up and like how many bookings I was getting. But it was a lot of marketing. Like, I had to post so much on social media to keep myself busy and out there and people noticing me to book. And even now, like, these friggin' reels. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of rolling with the punches. I find things I like and I like saving them and like writing down notes about like what I should do for them. But it's like it's all the marketing. It's like what's on trend and that's what's pulling people in. And I don't have TikTok. Like, I refuse to have TikTok because I'd be on it for probably 5 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And right. And I don't have unlimited internet. So I have to prioritize like how I use my internet. And so having to like get out of my comfort zone to do that has been a huge step, because I just
Well, and
doing a reel.
part of being an entrepreneur, like I look at, to be honest, I'm at the point now where I have assistants that do a lot of like the tech stuff for me, even for these videos and what we're doing behind the scenes here. I'm basically doing the recording, the talking part, which I can do that all day, every day. The talking is what I know I'm good at, and the tech stuff I know I'm not. So now I'm at the point where I can send that off to someone who's actually good at that.
Nice.
the
Yeah.
whole part of being an entrepreneur is the creative and like figuring out what the next things are that we need to start doing, like those Instagram
Yes.
reels. Like
Yeah.
I've seen you come up multiple times on my discovery page and I was like, I know who that is. Like it's great
Oh,
because
good.
right, we have to
It's
work,
worth it.
yeah, we have to work with the algorithms and see what happens, but
I know.
all of that is research too, right?
Yeah.
So people may think like my mom probably thinks I do nothing through the day now that the spa isn't open. Like I don't think she realizes
Yeah.
the amount of tech that goes behind these businesses.
Oh,
Whether
I
it's
know.
on product or it's photography or interior design. Like every woman I'm going to be speaking to for the next bit literally they've had to pivot their entire business.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I had to change my website a bit just so like to pull different, clientele in because things change, trends change. And so, one picture I had on my website for a while, I'm like, you know what, that's not really in anymore. Like no one's doing that. So it's not gonna pull people's attention. So there's so much studying. And my boyfriend probably thinks and does say sometimes some, the same thing, like you're on your phone all day. But like there is just so much with social media that gets being put into a business, especially right now when we can't work. Like you have to keep on top. And some days I do hate it because I just like I get exhausted and I feel so tired by like 6 o'clock, realizing I've been on my phone all day. But it is research and marketing and just putting yourself out there. And if you post a photo, they say you have to be active for that next hour to comment on, people's comments and replies. And there's so many people telling you the do's and don'ts, and some of them I have to follow, but there's also some things where I'm like, okay, you know what? That is definitely not on brand with Autumn Liggett Photo.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. I can't. And it's worked because I've clearly not lost any followers with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's just so much that goes into running a business in this day and age. At one point, you tape a flyer up on a wall and you were like, there's my business. Hope you come find me. Where now it's like you have to keep on top of everything. If there's someone else in the area posting about something, it's like, okay, let's get some ideas rolling here. And because
I think
that's just how it works.
with the older generation as well, I feel so bad for the older generation that aren't techy or looking like they can't even
I know.
like figure out how to pivot or change their business
I know. Yep.
to make the strategies that are going to help and scale their businesses. But even for your
Yep.
social media following, like that alone has just exploded like since
Thank you.
time, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think I've gained, and I don't really pay attention too much to the numbers, as bad as that sounds. But like I think I've gained at least 1,000 followers since like June, which is just me busting my ass off. And I mean, at the end of the day, the numbers really don't matter, but in a way they do. And I hate admitting that. But like if you're looking for a wedding photographer and you see them have only 50 followers, you're going to pick up that maybe they're just starting out. They're probably good, but you have to kind of put more effort into kind of figuring out if that's something you want to invest in. Just because 50 followers, are they really well known? Have they gotten a lot of bookings? Do they have the experience yet? Or you see someone, and I'll just pick on Evelyn right now, but you see her following and you see like all the things she can come up with and all the different clientels and everywhere she travels, you instantly are like, oh, she has the experience. She's definitely well trusted. People love her. That's probably someone we would want to invest in.
Yeah.
Again, numbers don't always matter because like if I just started out and I shot the way I do now, I have what it is, people like that. But would they book me because I only have 50 followers? It's a lot of work.
Oh, definitely.
I find just constantly being on social media does help gain those extra followers. Giveaways are a great way to kind of pull people in just because, tag a few people that have to now follow you. Then they stick around because, oh, I actually like this content. This is good stuff. They stick. But it's a lot of work. It's so much work to build itself up, and it's worth it. But I know so many people that want to like jump into the photography business and just expect to take off. And like, this is year 5 for me. And I just went official full time in September. Like I just got to where I can rely on my income to support me through each day and paying rent and bills and all that necessities. 2 years ago, absolutely not. It takes a long time. And I am jealous of people that can do this in a year, and all of a sudden they just like pop up and they're like, we're full time now. I'm like, what the hell? Like it took me forever, but it
Well,
is time and it's worth the process.
like, what is the biggest thing that you would give advice to someone wanting to get into your industry, or like even your younger self? Is there something that you would tell like a young entrepreneur or someone looking into getting to photography? I know it's like a pretty
Yeah,
like heavy
I
question.
know. It is. Hello. Oh, that's just my cat smelling my foot. Um, um, definitely. Like, I mean, I told myself when I first got into photography, because I was in the education field, like, you went to college for education. I'm like, you have to stick with that. You paid thousands of dollars to learn your career. You have to stay with it. And I mean, that's fine to say that, but I think there's so many people out there that went to school nowadays that don't end up doing what they want to do.
Mhm.
And I think just following through with like what you truly want to do and what truly makes you happy and just like, hello, um, thriving for it is really important. Can you not put your butt in my face, please? I think it's just, yeah, if I could tell myself even 4 years ago, like just start pursuing what you want, getting your ducks in a row. I probably would have been out of the education field a lot sooner, but I was naive a little, you pay all that money, you have to do what you went to school for. And now looking back at like the last like 2 or 3 years, I've like kind of wasted my life on hating a career and like coming home miserable every night and just feeling so exhausted. And I look back, I'm like, was that worth it? Like, I'm still where I was 3 years ago, just like with a business now. Like, I'm still renting a house. There's things I didn't really take away from that part of my life. So why did I push myself to do that? So one piece of advice would just be do it.
Well, and I don't think it was a waste, because I think it still brought
No,
you to where you are. And I think
definitely.
with the traditional way of like going to school, like even looking at like some of the kids I know, kids, I guess, are we still kids? I guess we are.
I don't
That
know. I like to think, but maybe not.
I don't know, but I look at some of the kids I went to school with, and they went for like engineering and all these super
Yeah.
expensive like all these like years upon years of education, and I knew I was not a school person, and
No.
I people look down on me so much, and now I look at what these people are making and I'm like, wow, I make more or the same as you do, and I didn't go
Yep.
to school for 5 to 6 years for education, and I
I hear
have my
you.
own house and I have all the things that I wanted, but I also feel more self-worth that way.
Yes.
And it's in
Honestly,
back to the point we were saying about like showing people that like proving them wrong, right? Like showing them like, oh, you
yeah.
said it wasn't going to be good because of this, and now look at me, right?
Definitely. And like this past year, I made more with my photography business than I would have in a full year being an ECE in a childcare setting. I made more. And that was also a huge push. By September, like seeing where I was profit wise, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing in this field still? Like I'm not gonna make that ever. Not ever. Even if I get you get capped off. ECEs get paid so poorly. And so seeing like where I would even just get cut off, even in a school board eventually, I still would make more with photography. And that was my first year full time. So I'm like, you know what? I am right where I need to be. It was worth it.
Well, awesome. This was amazing.